The last delivery. The rain drizzled endlessly over London, slicking the streets and casting a hazy glow around the streetlights. Malik pulled up his hood as he parked his moped outside a grimy tower block in East London. The night had been long. Burgers, curry, pizza, and sushi ferried across the sprawling city. His last delivery was a small brown bag marked with a local chicken shop's logo. Easy enough, he thought, just one more and I'm done. He looked up at the tower, its facade cracked and lifeless, with a single flickering light in the lobby. Malik sighed. These late-night deliveries in blocks like these always made him nervous, but the tips usually made it worth it. He grabbed the bag and locked his bike, mentally promising himself a hot cup of tea and some rest when he got home. The knock. The lift was out of service, of course. Malik trudged up the stairwell, the air thick with the smell of damp concrete and stale cigarette smoke. He reached the 7th floor, checking the address on his phone, flat 712. He approached the door, a chipped piece of wood with a peephole and several scuff marks. Malik knocked 3 times, his knuckles brushing against the rough surface. For a moment, there was silence. Then, the sound of footsteps. The door creaked open just enough for Malik to glimpse a shadowy figure. Before he could speak, something cold and metallic pressed against his forehead. His breath caught in his throat. "Step inside." Now, a gruff voice commanded. Walking into chaos. Malik's mind raced. He wanted to run, to scream, but the gun at his temple kept him rooted in place. Slowly, he stepped over the threshold into the flat. The air inside was thick with smoke, cigarette and something sharper, chemical. A group of men stood around a small table cluttered with bags of powder, stacks of cash, and a few weapons. "Who the hell is this?" one of them barked, his accent Eastern European. "Delivery guy," said the man holding the gun, a wiry figure in a tracksuit. "Knocked on the door just now." The apparent leader, a broad man with a shaved head, scowled. "Why'd you let him in? He's seen too much." "I didn't see anything," Malik stammered, his hands trembling as he held the chicken bag up like a peace offering. "I just deliver food. That's it. Please." The leader waved dismissively. "Check the bag." Tracksuit grabbed the bag, ripped it open, and tossed the contents onto the table. Just some fried chicken and chips. The room tensed for a moment, then relaxed as everyone exchanged glances. "All right," the leader muttered, "but he's not leaving until we're done. The deal goes south." Malik was shoved into a corner, his back pressed against the peeling wallpaper. He watched silently as the men returned to their business. One of them pulled out his phone, texting furiously. Another counted cash, his fingers moving rapidly over crumpled notes. Minutes passed, each one stretching like an eternity. Then, the door burst open. A group of men in dark hoodies stormed in, guns drawn. Shouts erupted in a cacophony of accents, threats flying back and forth. Malik's heart hammered as he pressed himself further into the wall, praying he'd become invisible. "You think you can short us?" one of the newcomers snarled, pointing his gun at the leader. "We don't play games." The leader, unfazed, leaned back in his chair. "You got your money's worth. Take it or leave it." The man in the hoodie sneered. "We'll take it. And everything else." Gunfire and chaos. The first shot rang out like an explosion in the confined space. Malik instinctively ducked, throwing himself to the floor as the room erupted into chaos. Guns fired in rapid bursts, flashes of light illuminating the room in split-second intervals. Shouts turned into screams, and the acrid smell of gunpowder filled the air. Malik crawled on his hands and knees, desperate to avoid stray bullets. He reached the sofa, using it as cover as the gunfight raged around him. One of the men near the table fell, clutching his chest as blood pooled beneath him. Another fired wildly, hitting a lamp, which crashed to the floor and plunged the room into near darkness. Tracksuit, the one who had pointed the gun at Malik earlier, stumbled past him, clutching a bleeding arm. Their eyes met for a split second. "Get out of here, kid," he hissed, before limping toward the kitchen. The escape. Malik didn't need to be told twice. Keeping low, he crawled toward the door. The noise was deafening: screams, gunshots, the shattering of glass. His palms were slick with sweat as he reached for the doorknob, half expecting another gun to stop him. He yanked the door open and bolted down the hallway, his legs moving on pure adrenaline. Behind him, the gunfire continued, echoing through the tower like thunder. He didn't look back. Down the stairs he ran, nearly tripping several times as he descended the slippery steps. His chest burned, his breath ragged, but he didn't stop until he burst through the front entrance of the tower block and into the cold, wet night. Aftermath. Malik collapsed onto the pavement, rain soaking through his clothes as he gasped for air. His moped was still parked where he'd left it, a small beacon of normalcy in the madness. He fumbled with his keys, his hands shaking uncontrollably, and managed to start the engine. As he sped away from the tower, his mind replayed the scene over and over, the gun pointed at his head, the shouting, the blood. He wanted to scream, to cry, but all he could do was grip the handlebars tighter and keep driving. When he finally reached his flat, he sat in the dark for hours, the uneaten bag of chicken still strapped to his moped. Delivering food had never been glamorous, but he'd never imagined it could almost get him killed. Tomorrow, he thought, I'm finding a new job.